So now let's dive in, shall we? Because we talked about the 3 C's yesterday: clarity, commitment, and then choices. We got that commitment scale going. And then we learned all the parts and pieces of the enrollment conversation that are important to include. And notice I didn't give you a script. I said emulate before you innovate. I didn't say memorize and regurgitate. Like, we want to be authentic in our conversations. And so that's why I gave you the 10 components. The 10 components, it's typically the order that I use them in, but no, it doesn't have to be rigid. So when I say emulate before you innovate, nail the 10 components, be present and use them. Don't memorize. Like, where the memorize and regurgitate is at home in front of the mirror. You look in the mirror, you practice with your buddy coaches, with your peer coaches, with your own coach, right? And so now, the final piece of enrollments is probably, I know for me, it was the piece that scared me the most for a long time. Because I was like, okay, I know how to have a conversation. I got that down. But I have no idea what they're about to throw back at me. And I don't know if I know how to handle that or not. Are people nervous about, like we call them objections, the yeah buts? Does that make you a little nervous when you think about showing up to a sample session? You're like, gosh, I don't know if I can, I don't know what they're going to throw at me, so I don't know if I can overcome it and kind of get them to the scale so that they can sign up. And so would it be helpful to cover the 4 most common objections so you know how to navigate that? Yeah, that's what we're going to dive into. And blue, or I don't think we need the flip chart anymore. So whenever it's a good time, I think we can take that off the stage. So the first objection, oh, thanks, Barry. The first objection that I want to jump into is the time. I want to talk about time. And so also, if we can, let's go ahead and pull up the slides, and I'll use the slides, actually. Yeah, thank you. Oh, there's the roadmap. And we'll just let it get it here as well. We'll go ahead. So the 4 most common objections. And you'll find a spot. Oop, hang on one second. Thank you, guys. You'll see in your workbook, we've got the 4 most common objections. I'm switching up the order on you, just to make sure you're paying attention. So time is actually going to be the second one, because you'll see that we've got blanks to fill in. And so time, what I want to talk about is, as a business owner, when we can understand the psychology behind why objections are coming up, why we have these objections, then we can use our coaching skills to navigate our clients. And I find that the psychology, understanding that, really eliminates the fear and uncertainty of how am I going to handle it. Because with these 4 objections, and so time is the first one, right? With these 4 objections, it's never about the thing itself. That's the first thing I want you to know. It's never about the thing itself. And so if somebody comes with a time objection and you make it about time, now you're in this defensive battle. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, no, it's not. That's not going to go anywhere fast. And that's not a fun conversation to have, because now you have to get in convincing mode. And when that doesn't work, you have to get in manipulating mode. And that definitely doesn't work. And then when that doesn't work, you have to get into salesy mode. And we absolutely don't want to go there. So we never want to make it about the thing. They make it about the thing because they don't know what's really going on. So I love understanding the why behind things, because then you can do something with that and use your skills and talents as a coach. And these objections, like, I'm going to put this in the context of you working with your prospects in a sample session or that discovery consultation or whatever you might call that. But know that you're enrolling people all the time. I mentioned it yesterday. You're enrolling your kids. You're enrolling your spouse. You're enrolling your partner. Marcia, great job with Calculator Boy. Yeah? You're enrolling them. You're enrolling colleagues and coworkers, right? Your peers. So we're always enrolling, and these skills are transferable. And the other interesting thing that's not surprising, when I was hearing about the stories in the back of the room, like while I went through the questions this morning of, some logistical stuff, there was also a lot bigger questions that came up. I don't know if this is the right time. I can't afford this. How do I talk to my spouse? Will I really do? Like, they're bigger questions, and we often don't know how to navigate. Like, we're not taught how to navigate this in life. Your prospects don't know this. You don't know this. I had to learn this. But when you can understand the psychology behind it, now you can do something with it. And what I want to ask you to do, because I think it'll help you relate and learn, we're going to kind of do this simultaneous thing. I'm going to be teaching this in the context of when you're sitting in front of your prospects, but I wanted you to also see where you find yourself in these. See where your prospects are mirroring for you, or see which ones you relate to, whether you're contemplating the accelerator program or another decision in your life, because when you can sort yourself out, it's a lot easier to help sort out your clients. Yes? Yeah. So the first one is time. So skip down to the second workbook area, and then I'll pop it up on the screen. So it's never a time issue. It's a priority issue. So I want you should see the right number of blanks. I hope we got it right. The time objection, right? It's never about time. It's not a time issue. It's a priority issue. If you hear somebody sitting in front of you saying, I don't have enough time, how long is this going to take, what kind of time am I going to have to invest in this, hear that and hear what they're not saying. Like, that's powerful coaching skills right there. Hearing what's not being said, hearing the undertone. It takes a lot of skill and a lot of ability to be present. You cannot come from a scarcity mentality. You have to be in an abundance mentality so you can hear what's not being said. Does that skill, when I say that coaching skill, does that make sense? Okay. So it's never a time issue, it's a priority issue. And when you're hearing all those variations, you're smiling and you're like, okay, I get it. And you're thinking, oh, it's a priority issue. Because what you know, and what I know, is that what we prioritize, we give our time to. And so if somebody's saying, I don't have the time, now's not the right time, is this the right time? What that's really telling me is they're not yet prioritizing this in their life. So remember back to when I was sitting here and Kate was sitting there and we were doing the role play? So she would tell me all about time and I would acknowledge her, yeah, I get it. I totally understand. And I might even answer. I was like, well, it depends. Are you a fast learner or are you a slow learner? I don't know that about you just yet. And depending on your abilities, it could take longer. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I want to really ask something else. What are your priorities in your life? And that's the coaching question to ask. What are your priorities? And a lot of times you'll find, oh, family, oh, this. And this thing that they're wanting is like 4th, 5th, 6th, 10th, 12th. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. And so then you can coach them to get clear on, okay, well, we've got to have alignment first. So is this really a priority? And if it's not, that's okay. We just shouldn't have this conversation. But if it is a priority, let's figure out how to get into alignment with that. So that's the coaching in the time issue. Okay, let's go to the next one. Money. The money objection. Yeah, go up to the top one. Thank you, Pamela. Go back up to the top. I'm now going to go back up there, and I don't know, I just felt, starting with time, felt like the right rhythm. So money, the money objection. It's not a money issue. It's a I can't see the value issue. Pleasure Island is here, and when these results are in their life, why is that important? If somebody's bringing up a money objection, this is not clear to them. It might be clear to you, but this is not, the positive impact that the results are going to have on their life is not yet clear to them. They have not, in the 3 C's, they're not at that clarity yet. So when somebody says some variation of, I can't afford it, that's too much money, holy crap, what? Well, like whatever it is, whatever variation, and I've heard a lot of them, you've got to be kidding me. Like whatever, the I can't afford it, again, you're hearing what's not being said. Don't make it about the money. That'll be a never-ending battle. Make sure, say, you know what, I understand, I get that people don't have extra money usually sitting on a shelf. I totally understand that. And let me ask you a quick question. And that's like that phrase, I love that phrase. Let me ask you a quick question. I'm going to redirect. Now I'm taking control of the conversation, making sure they're not getting lost in their gremlins. And I'm going to say, let's talk about Pleasure Island again. Tell me the results that you wanted. Now, why are those results important? Now, we heard Kate do that in the role play yesterday. And I had her do what? I had her paint a picture. Oh my gosh, I'm going to go to Croatia with my husband. And you saw her, she's like, oh. Like not just be able to articulate it, but feel it. Have them describe it. Tell me what that looks like. When you are experiencing these results, tell me what that looks like. And then you can take them back to how committed are you to having that? Money is off the table. Take them back to that. Make sure they're clear in that. There's another story I want to share with you. I told you yesterday there's 2 things I never leave home without, a coach and mastermind. So we had been going in our business for a while, and it didn't matter what we did. It didn't matter the marketing strategy. It's like, okay, let's do this marketing strategy. It's absolutely going to get us there. It didn't matter what we did or how we organized things. We could not hit the next plateau that we were shooting for. Well, there's that little freak out moment. Please don't let me be losing my voice. Always have hot tea, lemon, and honey on your stage with you. Or especially during webinars, when I'm doing webinars or live streams or Facebook Lives, I have my green shake, I have my hot lemon and my honey, I have a throat lozenge, like keep all that in arm's reach. Okay, so where was I? The story. Trying to hit a plateau. I'm good, Kate. And it didn't matter what we did, we could not hit that plateau. Have you ever been to a plateau and you're like, I just can't get there? Or you've ever had a client that has brought you that? And so I was like, you know what? We can't do this by ourselves. Clearly, that's not working. And so we found this gentleman, and I said, you know what? He can support us to get there. I want to hire him as our coach. So we called him, and we were colleagues and good friends and super fun, and so we're like, hey, I don't know if you do this coaching thing, but we want to hire you. And he actually didn't do the coaching thing, but because Kate and I are who we are, he now does coaching. So you're going to coach us to there. And he did. But the thing that he did was he sent us a proposal and a little video presentation because we weren't in person together. And he was like, here's your plan. Here's how you're going to get there. Kind of like the roadmap. He gave us our version of the roadmap that we needed in our business. He's like, here's how you're going to get there. Here's what you're going to do first. Here's the next thing I'm going to help you put into place, the next thing, and the next thing. And I believe in you, and I think you can do it. I've given you the tools. I have no doubt that you'll accomplish this. And I was like, wait, that might be true, but I don't know if, what happens if I run into a question I can't answer? Or I'm not sure about something, or something's not clear. And so we were going through that. I was like, no, I really feel strongly about having somebody guide me through this. And then he got to the end of the presentation and said the price. And it was $40,000. And Kate and I almost choked on our lunch that we were eating on when we were watching this. And we had this moment of, we cannot afford this. Like literally, it was very real. We actually opened up our budget and we're like, there is no excess 40 grand sitting around that says, oh, here, no problem, take this. Like it didn't exist at the time. So I was in this funny battle of, okay, we don't have the money, and if we keep doing what we've been doing, we absolutely won't ever have the money because it ain't happening. So we've got to do something different to get different results. And I was like, Kate, you don't know what? I don't know how we're going to do this. We're going to ask him, because we were a cash flow kind of gal back then. And I was like, we're going to ask him to break it into payments because that makes this possible. And we're going to do it. And we did, because we're resourceful. You're resourceful. And I want you to see the person sitting across from you. That's one of the things that helped me be so confident sitting here doing that role playing with Kate. I saw her as resourceful. See your prospects as resourceful. I should have added that to that checklist that you review before you go into the sample session. See your prospects as resourceful. Because here's what I know. Now, I'm going to share this with you. I've only ever used this once with an actual person because she was a very good friend and I knew her extremely well. This could be dangerous if you use it with some people. So just a heads up, don't use this. And if you do, use it with extreme caution. What I know about Kate is if she was sitting there, if something happened to her mom, God forbid, something popped up. She got that emergency phone call in the hospital. She's been in the land of, I can't afford this, right? I don't have the money. And she was like, you know what? Do whatever it takes. I'll be right there. She hangs up that phone. She goes and takes care of her mom. And she figures that shit out. Is that right? You all would do the same thing. Mom, dad, spouse, kid, pet, whatever. You would figure it out. So that tells me money is not the issue. Do you see that connection? Because she's going to make it happen. That takes it back to, I don't see the value of the impact it's going to have on my life, and what we just talked about a minute ago, I'm not prioritizing this. Mom, priority. Husband, priority. Kids, priority, for sure. This, not a priority. And investing in ourselves, know this about yourself, know this about your prospect. Investing in ourselves is the hardest thing we ever do because we have been trained by our culture, by our society, by the world at large to take care of everybody else first. That's why I do such a darn good job of practicing self-care and modeling it for you so that you can do the same for your clients. So we can bring all of ourselves. So that's how I know. So when I'm sitting there and somebody says, oh, I don't have the money, I'm like, watch this. Like, that's what I'm thinking. So Confident Carlos, where are you, Ryan? There you are. Like, that's what's going on in my head. I'm like, watch this. I'll show you what it's not about. And so I'm running that dialogue. So I'm having fun on the inside. That helps me to hold space where they are so I don't get bought into their story. Make sense? And as a coach, that's one of your greatest skills that you have. You know, hold space. It's not your stuff. That's their stuff. Don't let their stuff get on you. So that's the money objection. I think you guys are knowing how to, let's just put up these slides. So we've got the money and we've got the time. Let's go to the next objection. The next one is the spouse. Calculator. I'm going to now reframe this and call this the calculator boy objection. Yeah. It's the I need to talk with my spouse. And this one is tricky. So you have to be very mindful how you navigate this one. Because it can be an excuse on one hand, and it can be legit on the other hand. So we have to navigate this one in a pretty interesting way. All the others, they're just excuses. And when you get to the real, it's not time, it's priority. Now you help them get clear. It's not money, it's value. You help them get clear. Those are all objections and excuses that they're hiding behind, they're staying stuck in, they're playing small in, they're holding themselves back in. So this next one, it can be an excuse and it can be a real thing. And so the way I love to handle this is first remember, okay, let me honor this and equip them. And the first thing that I love to do is I love to remove the spouse from the equation. Let's start there, because more times than not, they're using their spouse to not have to deal with their own shit. And it's like, nope, not going to let you get off that easy. So I like to remove the spouse. And the way that sounds, something like this. So I hear that you've got to talk to your spouse. I completely understand. I totally get it. And before we go there, can I ask something? Your spouse loves you, yes? Yes. Your spouse wants the best for you, yes. Okay, let's just assume for a second that your spouse is going to support this decision. We'll come back to that in a minute. I totally understand you got to talk to him. Let's just make that assumption. And so then we assume that. It's like, oh, okay. And so now it's like, oh, it actually might be a possibility. So now we're in the realm of possibility, not fear. That's the first thing. And then I ask him the commitment. Knowing that your spouse is going to support you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to this journey? And I find out their level of commitment first. I got to deal with that before I can deal with the spouse who's not even in the room. See a lot of heads nodding. Good? Helpful? Yeah. So then I find out, what's that scale? On a scale of 1 to 10, there are 5 or less. I'm like, you know what? You don't even need to talk to your spouse, because what I know is that there's a little bit more work for you to do to get really clear on what you want. When you're there, then I'd love to work with you, and I can talk to you about how to talk to your spouse. In the conversation, send them off. If they're up here, you saw how I handled that yesterday. If they're a 6, 7, 8, it's like, what would it take to make it a 10? And I kind of gauge, where are they? How willing are they? Are they going to be committed? And then I move on. So that's the first thing I do, is I remove the spouse. Now I know what we're dealing with. And when they're committed, now talking to the spouse has a little different energy to it. And so then the next thing that I'll share with them is I'll say something to the effect of, would it be helpful if I coached you in how to talk to your spouse? And then be like, oh my sweet God, yes. I have no idea how I'm about to go say this. And then Stephanie nailed it with Marcia. You're not going to ask for permission, are you? Now, Stephanie, I'm guessing, read Marcia's energy, right? And so she got a little fun and sassy with it, and it sounds like it landed with your bubbly smile, like that was great for you. So depending on who that person is sitting in front of you, you might say, you're not going to go ask for permission, are you? Like, that could be one thing. Or you could say and frame it up, especially if it's a woman. This is a thing that us women, we've been so conditioned for so long, we're kind of unlearning this, and you're facing that right here if it's a woman sitting across from you. And you could gently say, you know what? Our culture has taught us that we have to ask for permission. And I want to reframe that with you first. Because it's not permission that you're going to go ask for. It's support that you're going to go ask for. Pamela just said, interesting. Yeah, I'm just letting that one land for a second. Yeah, we don't ask for permission. We ask for support. We share, we acknowledge, we bring them in the journey with us for sure, because they're our partner. But it's not permission, it's support. And then the way I would coach that person is like, okay, let's talk about how you go get their support. And the first thing that they have to know is you've been on a journey in this conversation. You've had a lot of learnings, discoveries, ideas. You've made a commitment. You're clear in the pleasure island. You know why and the impact. You know the value. Like, you've had time to process this. So in a sample session, it happens in that conversation. At this event, it happened, like, this is, the 2 days you guys have been going through that. They're not in this room. Calculator Boy was not in this room. Calculator Boy does not have the information that Marcia has. So a lot of times we're like, honey, I want to do this program. And when we say I want to do this program, what we're knowing is, I'm committed on a scale. I know this. This is how it's going to be. But it doesn't come out. And so all they hear is, I want to do this program. And they're like, oh, not again. Because there's zero context. And then he's like, okay, because he really wants to support you, or she really wants to support you because she does love you, and she does, or he wants to be supportive. And they're like, okay, let me try again. How much is this program? 40,000, 20,000, 2,000. Like, the number doesn't matter. Because whatever number comes out of your mouth, you're like, you are kidding me. No, that is too much money. We have this, and we have that, and this, and you, da. Because they have no context. They don't know Pain Island. They don't know Pleasure Island. They don't know why and the value and the impact it's going to have on you, your business, their life, your life together. Eureka did a phenomenal job going back to her husband and enrolling him. Angelique did a phenomenal job going back and taking context to her family to say, look, this is what's happening, and here's why. And so that's the next thing I would do, is after the permission and support, I would say the first thing you're going to do is you're going to share your why. You're going to go tell them the results that you want and why they're important to you. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to take them on the journey that you've also been on. How is this going to support you? I love this program because. I love this thing because. I want this dress because. I need this pair, like whatever it is. Because they're giving me the support that I've never had before. They're giving me the tools that's been missing in my business. They're giving me the community that believes in me when I forget about myself. And you go through and it's like, here's how it works, and here's why it works, and here's why I love this, because with that, I'm going to get to there. And what I most want is your support, because that's where I'm going. You with me? No. You say that to the spouse. I know y'all are with me. You're like this. You with me? You in? Let's do this. Some variation of that. Okay? Any questions about this? I feel like let's do some digestion real quick before we go to the next one. The other thing I want to say about overcoming objections with the spouse, it's got to talk to my spouse. I said, on one hand, it's legit, right? Like Kate is the same way with her husband. Like, there is an understanding that we have in our marriage that, for things that are a certain price point or below, we know. We trust each other. We have conversations. We have our regular Monday meetings. So we know it's going to come up in discussion. There's nothing hidden, so we just do it. But we know what our threshold is, what's comfortable for us, and anything that amount or more, we just want to honor and inform. It's just a respect because we're partnership. So it's legit, right? Kate's the same way with Tom. Like, they're going to have a conversation. And I want to honor that because it's super important to the relationship. So here's how I handle this. I love this because there's no getting around it. So get ready. This might happen to one of y'all. So I do the whole let's remove the spouse, get clear on where you are. If they need help talking to their spouse, I coach them through that. And in that conversation, you're going to find out and you're going to feel your way through, oh, you're a 10. Oh, I get this. You're a 10. You just actually, it's legitimate. You need to talk to your spouse. So here's what happens. I open up my laptop. I pull out the agreement. I was like, you know what? I totally get it. You're going to talk to your spouse. Since you're a 10, I want you to take the physical action to represent this commitment you're making. So I'm going to go through my agreement. We're going to pick the packages. We're not going to do anything until you talk to your spouse. But we're going to pick, are you the jumpstart kind of person? Are you the total results kind of person? Are you, when you talk to your spouse, is it going to be I love to save money, or I really need to pay attention to my cash flow? Which one? And you sort out the choices. And then you, on your agreement, you collect the credit card. You get, that's the physical action that they're taking that represents the energetic commitment they've just made. And you say, now I'm not going to charge this. Let's pick a date in the future that we can agree on. How much time do you need to talk to your spouse? A week? They're like, oh, no. Usually it's never. It's like, no, I just need a couple days. It's like, great, let's pick a date. So on February 16th, I'll run this, and you're in. And she'll be like, great. So now you've actually made the sale, you've confirmed their commitment, and you've honored and acknowledged them. You don't have to go chasing after money. You don't have to revisit that conversation. Now, you just move into your onboarding process. So I like to handle that one in both ways. Helpful? Yes. Good. Okay, so I need to talk to my spouse objection. We've covered that one. The last one is an interesting one. It's the fear objection. And it's never a fear issue. It's a trusting one's self issue. And the way the fear objection sounds, it's some variation like this. We heard Kate talk about it in the role play yesterday. She's like, wow, I've done this before and it hasn't worked. Will this work for me? Or will I don't know, can I do this? Will I actually do the work? And that's what I faced, when I was hiring my coach, and he laid out the plan, and I was like, whoa, will I actually do this plan? Because he believed in us. He was like, I know, with this plan, you'll absolutely implement this. And then it came down to me. I was like, wow, will I actually do this work? And I got a little nervous. I was like, I might hit some big bumps. I might go invisible again. I really don't want to do that again. So I need some support because I didn't have the full confidence in myself in that moment. So I was like, nope, I'm going to hire this coach to help me do this. Now, it was easy because I could do it. And so it went really quickly. And within a year, we hit our $1 million mark. And then it didn't take longer to hit the next threshold. Sorry? By a lot. By a lot. And it was a threshold that we had been pushing for and working for a while. And so that, at first, it was the money objection. It was like, that money's not sitting around. We opened up our budget. The money's not there. So it showed up first as a money objection. Got that sorted out. And then all of a sudden, the fear objection showed up in me. It's like, will I actually do this? And so you've got to address that. And when they start talking about this, it's about believing in them. Nurika, where are you sitting? Right there. That's what I so love about her story and that phone call when I was like, find me her phone number. And I called her, and she was like, I don't know. And what I heard in this voice as she's crying, She's like, I can't do this. I'm going to have to go back and work 2 jobs, and I'm going to have to take care of my husband. And I could hear the heartbreak. And in that moment, I could have done it for her, but I didn't. I was like, you know what? I believe in you. I know you will figure this out. And I gave her a reframe. And I can't remember if you said the actual reframe, but one of the reframes that I gave her was, how can I do this? And I was like, what if you asked yourself that question? How can I do this? I was like, repeat that to me. And she did. She's like, how can I do this? And immediately, she's like, well, I could, da-da-da-da-da-da. I could start a GoFundMe account, and just like blurted out of her mouth. I was like, yeah, that's what you just did. Like, you're starting that. Because she had the how can, I've got to figure this out. How can I? So you can reframe the fear by having them restate the spot they're in. And then they see how resourceful they are. And that's what I did for Eureka. I held that space, and I believed in her when she was like, throw me a lifeline, I'm drowning here. And I believed in her, and I did. And I saw her as resourceful. I had no idea how she's going to do this, but what I heard was passion. And when there's passion, there's commitment. When there's commitment, there's conversion. And so I held on to that piece. Now, here's a tricky spot with the fear objection. And I've seen this over the years with all the coaching conferences I've been to and coaching events that I've been to. And we're coaches, and we can coach each other. And I've heard it a little bit here. My ear has caught some conversations. And it sounds something like this. And you know me, I don't mess around, so I'm just going to be very blunt and direct about it. Oh, well, we can't do that because of time, money, spouse. Like they haven't sorted that out yet. And so then when they haven't sorted that out yet, especially when you're in the land of coaches, I find, but this happens with other people, it's like, you know what? I can't do that, so let me go find an accountability partner, and I'll do it. And in this world of coaches, it's like, well, you're a coach, and I'm a coach, so we'll just coach each other, and we'll get it done. And now it's like the blind leading the blind, and that's a bad spot to be in. Because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know, which is why you're still where you are right now, and now you're just going to be blind together trying to move forward. And it's usually not very productive. Told you I was going to be just really blunt and direct with that one. Because it's super important, and we think we're doing a service to ourselves and somebody else because it feels good in the moment. It releases the tension of, I don't have the time. The fear of, will I actually do the work? The money of, I can't afford this. The spouse, oh my God, there's no way I'm talking to my spouse. I know, we'll just coach each other. And then it feels good, so you don't have to deal with that. And you've got to pay attention for that one, because that's a tricky disguise right there. And you have to know that the prospects sitting in front of you are running that through. You're like, you know what, my girlfriend, I'll get her when I get home. I'll call her. This has been a great conversation. I'll just get her help in this. That is not going to work. You guys see that? I just want to bring that into the light to give you a heads up about that. So those are the 4 objections that we have. And what I find, there might be a couple of others, but really any objection that comes out can be in one of these 4 buckets. And again, I've given it to you in context with the prospect sitting in front of you, but you can use this in your life. You can use this with the accelerator program. You can use this with any decision that you are faced with, big or small. So I just want to take about 2 quick minutes. I want you to talk amongst your table. And now that you have kind of gone through these, I want you to share with your table which objection most often comes up for you. Just like a little popcorn share. Yep, so with your table, just circle amongst your table and just share which objection most often comes up for you. One sec. With you personally, when you are making a decision, when you're making a decision for you personally, which of these objections often creeps up for you personally, deciding something? Thank you. Let's bring it back up here. All right, wrap up your conversation and come back up here with me. Shh. So we had a couple questions. And like I said, if one of you has it, many of you have it. Same question. So let me just repeat this. Let's go back to the fear one for a second, the fear objection. So when somebody is sitting there and they're saying, can I really do this? Is this going to be possible? Oh, I've done this before, whatever. Some variation of that. A lot of times what's happening is they're ignoring the other three. And so I just like to take their temperature. Is this a time thing? Is this a money thing? Is this a spouse thing? So I like to first take their temperature on, okay, what's really going on here? And sometimes that's the coaching question I ask, is like, you know what? I hear that it's about, can I really do this? Is this going to work for me again? But let's find out, what's really going on here? And I might just go through, is it truly a time thing? And just kind of check in. And then if it's a fear, it's like, no, I'm not sure I'll do this work. Then I like to reframe it with that, how can you make this possible? And in simply changing the question, they change their perspective. The other phrase I like to do is, what is different this time? What will you do differently? In the mastermind that we're in, that's a phrase that we use. The power of any project is in the debrief. I talked about that on the first night. Right? And so whenever we get done with a project, we always say what's worked, what didn't, and what will we do differently. And so when you're having somebody sit in front of you and they're saying, gosh, I've done this before. I don't know if this will work again. What will you do differently? How will you show up differently this time? So that's another reframe that I'll give. And then I'll say, how can this be possible for you? And that's that believing in them and holding space for them. And then you shut up. And you let them wiggle in that uncomfortableness for a moment. Because that silence is that's where they're reorganizing themselves. They've kind of fallen apart. They're putting themselves back together in a new way to see from a new vantage point. And you're holding that space. Does that clarify that? Okay, good. Thanks for asking.